You're tuned to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the wonderful world of Wardini Books, and as always, it's our pleasure to have in the studio the wonderful Lou from Wardini Books in Havelock North. How you going, Lou?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Oh, I'm pretty good. All the better for seeing you.
Of course.
Not everyone says, of course. They've got two great stores. You've got one in Havelock on which street?
Tomato Road.
And you've got another one in Napier?
Yeah. Hastings Street.
Yeah. Today we've got three great books to have a bit of a look at, and the first one is called A Very Late Story.
Yeah, it's a picture book for children of probably about 3 and up, and I think it's really clever. So this is by Mariana Coppo, and it's a pastel coloured illustrations and quite simple illustrations in that sort of palette that designers like, I suppose. So the first 2 pages are blank. Once upon a time, there was a blank page.
And there it is.
And there it is. And what happens is 5 little creatures, but it didn't stay that way for long. That's the blank page. And we have a little pink rabbit with a backpack. I'm pretty sure that's a bear, the blue one. And then 3 animals that I probably couldn't tell you what they are.
No, they could be anything.
They could be anything, and that's fine. And what the story is all about is they're trying to figure out where they are. Nobody knew how they got there or when, but most of all, nobody knew why. What's going on? Where are we? And someone says, calm down, I think I know where we are. What? I think we're in a book. And they're like, well, we'll just wait for the story then. And they wait, and they wait, and they wait. And the little pink one says, can we play? And they're like, no, can't you see we're busy? There's no time to play. We're waiting for the story to arrive. And he says, oh, that's so boring. And off he goes, and he starts to make his own story. And the others are still hanging and moaning. And there's this awesome story starting.
Yes,
there's dinosaurs and birds in a tree, and there's a big swing set coming through, and all sorts of things happening. And a bird flying over, one of them gets plopped on. That happens.
Yes.
And we always like to introduce a bit of poo, don't we? And then they suddenly realise that it is occurring over there. There's all sorts going on. By the time that you finish it, there is a huge story occurring. And maybe I won't spoil the end, but it is a very clever end. And there's a lot to look at in that book. So if you've got a real bright spark, one of those kids, have you ever had one of these children? But why? But why? But why? Then I think that would be a great book for them. Because you can sit and then right at the very end, of course, it can start again. But then you can come up with the story. So if you're in a book with a blank page, what's going on?
Yeah, fill it in.
Full of creativity and possibility.
Very excellent. Make a great Christmas present. And our next book is called, and I love this title, The Train to Impossible Places.
Yes. So this has just come out in hardback. It's by P.G. Bell. And I suppose really you could start making comparisons to Harry Potter, and it's that kind of magical adventure. And we have young girl, gosh, I'm terrible at remembering names, Susie. So Susie is a physics buff. Physics and maths she likes, and she's always doing her homework. She's only about 11. And her parents are always saying, will you put down that homework and go to bed? You know, one of these kids. I've never met one.
I've never been that person.
No, but they are out there.
Yeah.
And she gets up in the night, and her parents are zonked out. They're working hard, and they're zonked out on the sofa. But she's heard all this clattering and banging around. And she goes downstairs, and basically what's happening is there is a little troll building a railway line through her kitchen.
As you do.
And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, you're not supposed to be here. And she's like, excuse me? I'm not supposed to be here. You're not saying he's drugged the parents or, put a spell on the parents, and they've missed her. So she's not supposed to see. And this is the Train to Impossible Places. And the premise of the book is that there are 5 dimensions, 5 places, 5 other places between our world and others. And of course, being human, we're all a bit stupid and slow, and we don't see what's there. We just go down at that very unreal track, and there are all these other places, and this train delivers mail. It's a courier service from one to the other, and the worlds in it are incredible. She hitches a ride because she's a physicist, and she's like, well, this is impossible, and he's saying, okay, but it's here. So she just wants to go and find out the maths and the science. But once she's hopped into this train and got herself a job on board, there is a terrible plot. There is an evil woman called Lady Crepuscular.
Oh, not old Lady Crepuscular.
I know. The fearsome sorceress, and she has got some terrible plan. and it's up to Susie to unravel that plan and save the worlds.
Sounds like an interesting read for just about any age, but what age is it actually geared up for?
So I think it's probably geared up for about an 8 or a 9. You probably have to be a pretty good reader if you were 8, so let's say 9 plus. And I think it will go up to, it's one of those that adults could read as well.
Yes.
But it's aimed at that. And she just every now and again, I kept reading bits out annoyingly to Gareth last night. I can't remember which bits now, but she's just got some really good sentences that are really very funny, very droll. So I think if you were reading it, it would be a good read aloud to children as well, if you had a family book, because the humour's really cool.
I've got one more book to talk about, but before we get there, I was watching old Graham Norton. Do you ever watch Graham Norton?
I don't watch it, no.
He had David Walliams on.
Oh, yeah.
And he's very well known, I didn't know this, a very well known children's author.
Yes, extremely popular. He's just got a new book out, The Ice Monster.
Look at that. Is that the sort of book you would carry as well?
Yes, that's available at Wardini Books.
And have
lots of those.
Napier.
Yeah.
And our last book we're going to look at today is called Unsheltered.
Yes, this is the new Barbara Kingsolver. People look forward to her books. She's probably more on the literary side of things, and this is a book about a house in its very simplest form. So we are in 2016, so very, very recent history. Vineland, which is one of those towns in America that has been purpose-built almost like a utopia, which is clearly always going to go wrong.
Of course.
But so it's been built back in the day, in 1870s. But Willa Knox is, her husband's a university professor, and there's no sort of tenured positions, and they're forever having to move. And they've moved back to this place because this house is in her family. She owns this house. And that's fine, but it's completely fallen to bits. And so she's got the builders round, and they're like, you're actually going to have to knock it down and start again, which they can't afford to do. So she starts to see if there is any historical significance to the house, because then you might get a grant to shore it up. Something awful happens right at the beginning of the book, and her son's had a baby. Something's happened with the mother, and so she ends up looking after the baby. She's got this prickly daughter in her early 20s that's come home all of a sudden after they haven't seen her for years, and so that the house is full of complex people,
yes.
as well as falling down around their ears. And the father-in-law, her Greek father-in-law, is dying in one of the rooms as well. So it's all going on, and she's going completely crackers. And it's about then her unravelling what's happened with the house. And then the parallel story is 1871 Vineland, when the town has just been built, and there is a very enigmatic guy in charge of it, and a new teacher comes to the brand new school, Thatcher Greenwood, and he's an advocate of Darwinism. And nobody else in the town is, really, apart from the really nice lady who lives next door. And that we are led to believe is the same house back in the day. And even then it's got its problems, because somebody has built an extension on it with no foundation or anything. So right at the beginning, it's a problematic house. And it's these two stories weaving together. And it's really very fascinating and beautifully written.
Plots and subplots.
Oh, there's heaps going on in it, because the Darwinism thing, the lady next door that Thatcher forms an unusual friendship with, because we're in the 1870s. Ladies aren't supposed to be interested in bugs, and she's got jars with spiders building nests in them in her living room, and her husband's run off somewhere, and everybody thinks, oh, poor woman, her husband's left her, and she's like, yippee, I can get my jars out and breed spiders. So
did all those subplots, do they come together nicely? I mean, I would think, wow.
Yeah.
How could I keep my mind on everything that's going on?
Well,
do you find that, or?
Barbara Kingsolver is quite an amazing woman, because there are so many twists that then come together, and they are really well explained. So nothing has come out of nowhere at the end. It all makes perfect sense, and you didn't really see it coming. So it's very lovely.
Amazing. And if we want to get any of these great books, just remind our listeners where you are. 2 stores.
Yes, 16 Tomato Road, Havelock North, and 44 Hastings Street, Napier.
As always, our pleasure. You look after yourself. Talk to you same time, same place next time.
Cool, thanks, Ken.